right, psychology nerds, and welcome to a brand new season of Psychology and Stuff, the podcast from Good Cause Productions at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I'm your host, Alison Jane Martingano, and today I'm joined by Jennie Young, professor of Rhetoric and Discourse, who many people may know as the creator of the Burned Haystack Dating Method. Jennie is a professor here at the University of Wisconsin in Green Bay, where she studies how language shapes meaning, power, and social interaction. Over the past several years, she has applied that expertise to one of the most psychologically fraught spaces in modern life, online dating. What began as her own rhetorical approach to navigating dating apps has since grown into the Burned Haystack Method, a very popular approach for quickly filtering out mismatches rather than endlessly deliberating over them. Well, Jennie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. And so I'm going to dive right in. So I've got you on here today to talk about the famous Burned Haystack Method.
Yeah.
And so as I've got its creator here, what is the origin? How did this start? Where did this come from?
Yeah. So probably like a lot of things, it started with me just trying to solve my own problem, which was a lot of like men on the dating apps who were ranging from boring to toxic to just sort of like aggressively stupid. And I didn't like, I felt like I was wasting so much time.
Right.
And I did what a lot of women do, which is I'd take a stab at it for, a week, 2 weeks. And then I'd be like, you know what, this is like just too awful. Mm-hmm. I'm deleting all my accounts and I would rather die alone than do this for one more day, right? And I went through several cycles of this, like again, like a lot of people do. And then I also did that sort of like self-gaslighting thing that I think a lot of women get mired in, which is where we start to think, I must be the problem here because nothing's working out. The communication patterns seem odd. Everyone's like, all these men are either yelling at me or confusing me. Like I must be missing something. This is just how it is now. I have to get used to being aggressed. And then I thought, I like have a whole life in the real world and I'm not having trouble communicating with anybody anywhere else, right? Like I'm a professor, like you're a professor, right? So I talk to people all day long, like hundreds of people sometimes, and I'm not encountering these problems. It's only in this very narrow arena of online dating that everyone seems to be, engaging in ways that just seem bizarre. So then I thought, and then I started talking to other women and they were like experiencing the exact same problems that I was experiencing. So I thought, okay, it's not just me. Like somebody needs to take this on. We can't, like, we're not just going to accept this, right? And be like, well, I guess this is how it is. So I started thinking about how I could bring my academic expertise to the process of online dating. And that's how Burned Haystack Method was born.
I love that. I love that your solution was, I'm going to take the other part of my life, my professor life, my professional life, and apply it. I've not managed to do that with psychology yet, which is weird because you'd think that was a more natural fit. So for our listeners that don't know, of course, you're a professor of rhetoric.
Yep.
And you're going to have to talk us through it, explain it at 5 years old level.
Yeah.
How do you apply rhetoric to dating profiles?
Okay. So first of all, this is literally my academic specialty, and I didn't figure it out for years until I did. And then it was like light bulbs going off. But so rhetoric is, like the study of language and persuasion and like the emotional effects of language and of images and of even, material items. We talk about material rhetoric. So there's like rhetoric. That's a big umbrella. Then there's applied rhetoric, which just means that you're taking like an academic study of rhetoric and applying it to real life. So we've got rhetoric, applied rhetoric. Beneath that, there's a subspecialty called critical discourse analysis, CDA for short, which is like a very formalized methodology of analyzing people's language use, use of images, use of material, specifically to determine what they're revealing when they don't intend to.
Okay. So you're specifically looking for the unwritten messages.
Yes. And not even just unwritten, but things people don't want to reveal. Like, that's why CDA is a superpower on the dating apps, because everyone's trying to like deliver this curated, best foot forward sort of persona, right? And that can be very misleading. So we need some tools and some tricks to read through the curation and figure out who you're actually talking to.
All right. So pulling back the curtain and seeing the person behind the profile. Because you're right, profiles and how we talk in those initial conversations on dating apps are hugely curated. We want to appear in whichever way we're trying to appear. Can you give me for instance, like what is one of your top tricks that you use?
So probably the most powerful, well, we've got like application skills and then theory. So the most popular rule of Burned Haystack Dating Method is rule number 4. There's 10 rules. And rule number 4 is block to burn. So let me go over the haystack metaphor, or this won't make sense. You know the saying, everyone's trying to find a needle in a haystack, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I named the method Burned Haystack is that I was Googling things late one night, again, just for my own purposes. And I typed, how do you actually find a needle in a haystack? Like in real life. Real haystack.
Okay,
real
sure.
Needle.
Take the metaphor literally.
Right. Yeah. Because I want to deconstruct the metaphor, right? And the answer, and I'm kind of embarrassed that I wouldn't have figured this out, but I didn't. The way you do that is to burn the haystack to the ground, because hay burns and needles don't, right? So that's a far more efficient way to find a needle than sitting there picking through the hay, right? And letting the hay blow back into the haystack, and you're just trying to find these needles. And I thought that's actually like directly applicable to the dating apps, because I'm swiping through these guys and literally feeling like I'm picking through pieces of hay. And like, I'm literally like, I'm going to time out. I'm going to die before I find the needle. So I thought the key is to obliterate that haystack. So that the needles just emerge. And the way we do that is block to burn. And what that means is if you're swiping through, Bumble or Hinge or whatever, if you just swipe left or pick the X, you're going to see that guy again, because the apps recycle people. The only way to actually burn the hay out of your haystack is to block that profile. So we use blocking strategically, not punitively. People think, and the dating apps want people to think, that blocking is only for like really bad behavior.
Sure, that's what I would have thought.
Right, that's what they want you to think, and that's how it's presented. But every single app has a way to block profiles without hurting the other person. Block and report are actually two different functions. They sort of want you to believe they're one and the same, and each app has a different mechanism process that makes it look that way. But every single one of them has a way that you can block a profile without reporting the other person, and that's what we use in Burned Haystack. So that's the whole block to burn thing.
Yeah. So instead of just swiping left or right, which is what I always do,
right? And you saw the same people again,
right?
Well,
yeah. I guess so. And I guess I didn't think it, because then I just swipe again.
Right.
But this is exhausting. It's time consuming, and you're seeing the same thing. So by blocking them, that's the metaphorical burning of the haystack.
Right.
And then as you block more and more people, the amount of people you're seeing goes down, presumably.
Way down.
And the needles hopefully start emerging.
They do. And so I also researched, when I was starting to experiment with this for myself, I researched the advice that was being given to women. And so I did some other Google searches that were like, how do I increase my odds on the dating apps? And what I kept seeing over and over again was make yourself as appealing as possible to as many men as possible. So try to cast the net wide. And go out on as many, be talking to and going out with as many people as you can, because it's a numbers game. And the more men you date, the greater your chances of finding that needle. Okay, that is terrible advice.
And the exact opposite advice.
It's the exact opposite advice of Burned Haystack. Now, I should say Burned Haystack is specifically designed for women who want a long-term monogamous partner. If your goal is to just go out and meet a bunch of men, go out on a bunch of dates, like don't use my method. It won't work. You're going to meet far fewer people and go out on far fewer dates using my method, but your chances of ending up with a good partner are much higher. So we flip that advice, right? So instead of trying to make yourself widely appealing, you want to be like brutally honest and make yourself appealing to only the very, very, very narrow percentage of men for whom you'd actually be a good match, and give almost nobody a chance.
All right. Brutal.
Yeah. Brutal. Yeah. And the words brutal and ruthless are frequently cited in Burned Haystack success stories, which are stacking up.
Stacking up.
Yeah.
Nice, nice pun. All right. So if we're going to block to burn, and we're going to do that often and regularly to get through this haystack, what are the things we do that for? What are the flags that we're like, okay, that deserves a block?
Okay. So number one, anybody you just don't want to date. It doesn't have to be some horrible reason. He doesn't have to have done anything wrong. You just know from something in his profile that he's not going to be a good match. And it might not be anything terrible. It might be that he lives farther away than you're willing to drive, right? Block. But the more powerful way to make those decisions is to apply some filters, not the app's filters. Those don't work and they don't abide by them. We use something called rhetorical patterning, and we've identified a whole bunch of rhetorical patterns. There's 33 that made it to the cut for the book, which I think we'll talk about later. But the rhetorical patterns are basically like a cheat code to recognize red flags so that you can block to burn immediately. So one of them is called disciplinary directive. Any man who's using his app profile to tell women how we need to be or how we need to behave, even at a very low-key end of that spectrum, block to burn. And I'm talking as subtle as the word let's. Like, if you like what you see, let's meet up. Nope. We're going to block to burn that, because grammatically, that's a clue that this man feels comfortable being directive with women he's not met yet. And I know this sounds like too hard-lined, but so we have a Facebook group. There's about 250,000 women in it. And what we keep hearing over and over and over again is, it didn't sound that bad. All he said was, shoot me your cell phone. And I didn't really like it, but I did it. And then he turned out to be super toxic or abusive. And this keeps happening over and over and over again. Now, the disciplinary directive pattern is frequently far more toxic than that. Like, men are literally saying things like, if you're not ready to meet tonight, don't waste my time. Like things like that, right? Yeah. So we have a bunch of them. We have disciplinary directive, looking for a trad wife. Were you at the Capitol on January 6th? Eeyore's on the apps. Are you my mother? Like, there's a whole bunch of them. And I think initially when women start practicing the method, they're like, oh my God, how am I going to memorize all these? You don't have to. What's almost like impressive about toxic men on dating apps is how little creativity they have. Like, they all just do the same thing over and over again. Like, it's laughable how quickly they fall into these patterns. And like, if I posted one in the Facebook group right now, in a matter of 30 seconds, you'd have 200 women correctly identifying it like that. You don't have to look anything up. We've just all seen it so often. And these save you a ton of time.
Wow. All right. Okay, so I'm going to put on my critic's hat now.
Okay.
And ask you from the other point of view, because I think had you told me this when I was actively dating and looking, my first response would have been, what if I don't find anybody?
Right.
Like this is going to limit my options.
Yep.
It's going to reduce my numbers. Am I going to be alone and sad? And what do you say to people?
That's such a valid question. For myself, I decided that I would much rather risk being alone forever than risk ending up with a bad guy. And a lot of what Burned Haystack is designed to do is protect women from abuse and exploitation. And it's being used clinically and therapeutically a lot now in like domestic violence recovery groups, narcissistic abuse recovery groups, coercive control recovery groups. That to me is not ending up single. I did not consider a terrible outcome. My terrible outcome was ending up with an abusive man.
Right.
And I think, if the goal is to just find someone, Burned Haystack's not the method. If the goal is to be, number one, be healthy and strong and satisfied and empowered, regardless of romantic pairing status, that's who we're talking to. And or if the goal is to find an equitable, healthy partnership with a liberal feminist man, that's what we're geared toward. It's the method and the community is very liberal, very feminist, politically liberal, socially feminist.
So the idea here is that if there's what you want, if you want to find this long-term partner who meets your ideals and goals, this is the method that's going to help you do that.
Yeah.
But if that's not your goal, then that's okay. This
Absolutely.
just isn't the method for
right.
you.
Then this isn't the method. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to shift a little bit now to talk about the community. You've mentioned the Facebook group already, and it's got hundreds of thousands of members. And what is it that, first made you sort of go social with what you were using as a personal method? And then how has that community grown and shaped the method itself?
Yeah. So when I started kind of employing some of these tricks myself, it changed everything immediately for me. Like the quality of matches I was getting were just better, far better. So instead of juggling conversations with 50 morons, I was talking to two nice people who we were having normal conversations, like men who could listen and ask questions, and were like a normal conversation that you'd have in real life instead of these weird stilted interview the man sort of dynamics that are so much of a problem on the dating apps. So I thought, this is actually working. And as an academic, I was intellectually interested in that and felt compelled to share it. I also quite selfishly thought it'll be easier for me to justify spending my time doing this if I can make it an academic project.
Love it.
Yeah. And also selfishly, part of our jobs is to publish, right? To research and publish. And so I thought maybe I could get an article or two out of this. I even in my wildest dreams, I thought maybe I could write a book that some obscure academic publisher who's interested in feminist applied rhetoric might consider.
Oh, yeah. And you've so gone higher than your wildest dreams. And we'll talk about the book more later.
Yeah.
But tell me about, so you mentioned posting into the group. People help each other to do this? This is a social activity?
So I wrote an article that was published in The Independent. That was the British version of The Independent. That was the first article on Burned Haystack. And that surprised me. And I was like, oh, I need somewhere to talk about this. So I made a Facebook group, just on my own personal Facebook account. I made it a private group. I posted the article in a women's writers group I was in on Facebook, not a large group. And then from there, I can't really explain what happened. I didn't have any kind of a social media following. I don't know how to build that sort of community. And nobody would tell you, if you want to build a social media following, exactly 0 people would tell you, start a private group on your own Facebook and only let women in. That's bananas. But because this is such a problem, the dating apps are such a problem, women just started sharing it. I wrote more articles. I pitched an article to HuffPost very early on, and the editor of HuffPost Personal, who I'm now friends with. Hi, Noah Michelson. Forever grateful to Noah. Because I had nobody at the time I had like 600 people in the group, which I thought was a lot. And Noah saw something in the idea and he thought, this could be more than what you're talking about right now. This could be a movement. And so we worked together in editing that article. And when that article came out, which was probably like 6 months into like me having conceived the method, things started exploding.
Yeah. Wow.
And then it just never stopped. Yeah.
Right. And I think that sort of grassroots growth just speaks to how incredibly needed a method like this is.
Yeah, it's the only explanation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're wonderful too. That is an explanation.
But you and I know there's a lot of wonderful scholarship being done, right, that doesn't see the light of day or doesn't get beyond the dusty journals of an academic library.
Because it doesn't have that direct use in people's lives.
Exactly.
Whereas here you can really see, oh, yeah, I can do that right now. I can log on to Tinder and apply that method right now.
Well, and there wasn't anything out there that was working. I knew because I'd looked for it. Like I was desperate. Like somebody tell me how to game this system because it's not working right now. We needed something that would work.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit now to bring in the psychology, because this is psychology and stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was hearing you talk about the Burned Haystack Method and reading about it, two sort of ideas came to mind about why this is such a psychological relief. Oh, I found the thing.
Yeah.
And they're cognitive load and decision fatigue. So cognitive load is essentially just how much brain power or brain work you're doing to do the task. And then decision fatigue is the exhaustion you feel after you've made a bunch of decisions. And I thought that the Burned Haystack Method maybe reduces both of these things.
Yeah, I think it does. Especially, I think part of the decision fatigue is this sort of like gaslighting effect I referred to earlier. And what women in the community will frequently say, like, this didn't land right with me. Am I overthinking this? We can usually point to a rhetorical pattern like that. And we're like, oh, no, the reason that didn't land well is because he's ordering you around. It's like real low key. And then she doesn't have to think about that anymore. Wow. And the support of the community is enormous in that too, right? Like having the problem with online dating is that everybody exists in this like internet vacuum, right? Where it's easy to question everything and get really mired in that decision-making process. If you bring a whole community of women together who are experiencing the same thing, everybody will call that out like that, and you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, plus the block to burn means that once they're gone, they're don't come back.
Right, exactly.
Whereas if you, I don't know, you sent them a message being like, hey, that didn't sit right, and then you'd have to reevaluate their response and make that decision a second time, or maybe even the third time as you come back and decide over and over again, are we sure he's right? I want to give him one more chance, but I'm not sure.
Right.
And making just endless decisions, whereas this is quick and out.
Whereas I would say if that phrase even enters your brain, like give him another chance, it's already over. Like that you should not be talking to that guy.
All right. One decision, one chance, and then move on.
Yeah.
Got to get through this hay.
Ruthless. Yeah.
Ruthless. Absolutely. All right. So I do want to touch, actually, I was going to ask you about your book, and I will ask you about your book. But this community, as you say, like having that community.
Yeah.
That's also incredibly psychologically beneficial, right?
Yeah.
Having people going through this, it's almost a support group.
It is. I mean, what I've kind of like arrived at this point, and these are things I wouldn't have anticipated, but that seem like true in a deep, undeniable way, is that the method is bigger than dating. Like you can apply it at work or with your family or whatever. The community is bigger than all of it. The community is more important than the method. It's more important than dating. It's more important than any individual experience because it's the community that's caring for women and empowering everyone.
Yeah. And when we talk about, it's 2026 and we're feeling more and more disconnected to people forever, here you have a community that seems to be blossoming in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that there's something... Obviously, it's a woman-centric, feminist, and focused on dating. Because I'm thinking about other online forums and social exchange, which can become incredibly toxic. And how do you prevent that from happening? Or just naturally, why do you think that hasn't happened here?
Well, I mean, it's not that it never happens. I do remove people from the group regularly. We have very clear rules of engagement. Like I won't tolerate women picking on other women, even in very mild ways. And the women who make up the community, like the core members, like they don't do that. They don't behave that way. Like any large Facebook group, we get trolls. We get men pretending to be women. We get women who are acting as the mouthpieces for MAGA. But like we remove that because it's just not the place for it. Burned Haystack is characterized by feminist support and kindness and tolerance and openness to different perspectives. It's global platforms and it's now ageless. It started out as kind of primarily women over 40 because that's who I was connected to on Facebook. But I have access to that kind of data, and it's pretty even now across the age spectrum. So it's diverse, and I think we're all genuinely like wanting to lift everybody up.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've met a few of these women at Common Cause in Sheboygan, and they're a wonderful group of human beings.
Amazing. It's a really smart group of women, and it's a really funny group of women, like scathing sometimes. But that's part of I built that in intentionally. I've written and studied satire a lot, and I think it has a place in feminist activism. So we've engaged that pretty directly and actively as well.
Wonderful. And I'm so thrilled that you have sort of built this community of people that just support one another going through similar things.
Yeah.
All right. So now the book.
Yeah.
All right. So your book is coming out April this year.
Yep.
And you have a copy of it right here.
Yeah. This is like an advanced reader copy. I don't know what camera am I looking at. This one.
This one.
There it is. This is a paperback. The real book will be hardcover. Comes out April 7th, and there's an audiobook and an ebook and all that.
Are you speaking on the audiobooks?
So we went back and forth on that. I don't have a great voice for reading. And I'm not like trying to put myself down. It's just, we all have different skill sets and abilities. This is also going to be a complicated read because so much of the book is toxic men's actual words. Like we used actual artifacts from real men. So it's going to need to be read in the voice of a toxic man. And I don't have those kind of acting skills. So we hired a professional reader, a very good one. I am going to read the book finishes with a letter from me to the community. I feel like it's really important for me to read that in my own voice because I'm talking directly to the women in the group. So I'm going to read that and maybe some intro material.
Okay. All right. So there'll be a little of your voice.
There will be some of my voice. Yeah.
All right. So wind back a bit.
Yeah.
What made you want to write a book? So you have these articles, you have this successful community. What made you want to make that transition into print?
I mean, that wasn't a transition for me. I still identify primarily as a writer. And for me, like this is the work. This is the work that needed to be done. I wanted to have like a comprehensive document where I could say, here's the whole thing. Here's the story of how it started, the academic research and methodology, the how-to. Like if you never want to get on Facebook or Instagram, which is totally understandable and valid, you can read this and you have the whole thing. So I am very, I think there's different kinds of academics, right? And I'm not judging how we all fall along that line, but like personally, I've never even gone to any of my own commencement ceremonies. I'm interested in whatever the work is. I'm like, give me the credentials so I can go do that work. Like, because I understand that's the system. That's how I look at this book. This book is the work that needed to be done. It now has been done. And it's kind of what I have to offer as a human being.
Wow. So this is the whole thing from A to Z.
Yeah.
It's all in there.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now that now that the book is coming out, then where do you see this going? Is this done for you, or what's in the future?
No, it's definitely not done for me. I'm obsessed with the Burned Haystack project in a way I've never been obsessed with anything in my life. Like, it's all I think about. It's all I do. It doesn't feel like work to me. I can't keep going at the pace I'm going right now. So I'm going to have to think going forward about, exactly how do I channel my energy to best serve this community and this project and this mission. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I don't know how the book is going to do. Nobody really knows how a book is going to do. That's going to dictate, a lot of what I do or don't get to do next. I've written the best book I can. I hope that people will buy it. Or take it out of their library. I hope libraries buy it so people can read it for free. And yeah, I don't know. My suspicion is that we continue to apply the methodology beyond dating. Because to me, that's been the biggest surprise of Burned Haystack, but honestly, the most gratifying one. When I hear, when women comment in the community and say, I'm a therapist who works with women coming out of domestic violence, and we're using your methodology in our group meetings, that's what gets me.
Wow.
That's where I want it to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, big steps here,
Yeah.
and really taking it to another level. Because I guess we do think about dating as somewhat of a jokey,
Right.
low level risk, but that's really getting into the depth of what makes us as human and what can impact us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to end on a low point.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
tell me
I don't normally get emotional. Yeah.
It's glorious. This is obviously your whole world, and I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me the biggest joy that you have found from this whole process.
The women I've met in the community.
Yeah.
And the support that I've seen. Like, a post went up recently with someone who was coming out of what had turned out to be a really bad, really violent situation. And the support that emerged for her immediately, not just in terms of sympathy and empathy, which, as you know, super important, but concrete, like, I was there too. Here's what I did. Here's what you can do. Here's some resources. Read this book. Listen to this podcast. Stay in this community. Like, that's work and application and community building on a level that changes people's lives. And the women in Burned Haystack community have changed my life forever, but they're changing each other's lives. And that's, I think, where we want to focus going forward.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again, Jennie, for coming
thank
in
you.
and telling me about the Burned Haystack Method. And I can't wait to read your book.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Psychology and Stuff is brought to you by Good Cause Productions at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. The executive producer is Ryan Martin, the production manager is Rachel Sankey, and our creative director is Jennie Young. The media engineer for this episode is Rachel Sankey with the help of Kennedy Punke. Special thanks to my guest today, Jennie Young. If you haven't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. I'm your host, Alison Jane Martingano. Keep being amazing.